PropTech. Hello, everyone. I hope that everyone is having a great day today, and happy Women's Day to everyone in the audience and to our amazing women at this panel. I'm so thrilled to have a phenomenal group of female leaders who are uh, definitely shattering the ceilings in the PropTech industry. So we're here today to discuss our journeys and empower women to follow their passion in the PropTech, and we'll also be discussing different areas of the industry and how our panelists develop their journeys and challenge some of the status quo. But before we start, I'd like to ask Ravi, the founder of PropTech Buzz, to introduce us to the platform and talk about communities and how the future members can join. So Ravi, please, can you share a bit more with us? Ravi is the CEO and the co-founder of the PropTech Buzz.
Excellent, Lisa. Thank you. The honor is mine, and I'm delighted to be here and also to celebrate this occasion, International Women's Day occasion. And we could not have gotten a better start to this day than having all of you there and celebrating this momentous occasion, and also celebrating the launch of a Women in PropTech community on PropTech Buzz. Now, let me quickly share my screen so that I can quickly do a demo here, and so that people know what PropTech Buzz communities are all about. As you can see here, we have on the platform, you will be able to find global PropTech leaders, global PropTech communities, global PropTech products. And here is how you go to communities. When you click on communities, you will be able to find dozens of communities across the globe, from ESG, from public communities to private communities, and then you will be able to search for your community. So we are here looking for women in PropTech. So you come in here and you go to Women in PropTech, and you open that community. And one of the interesting things is the live stream is also on within the community. So whenever there is an event that is happening live, you will be able to see that live streaming happening in that community. So today it's happening on Women in PropTech, and as you can see, there's a live stream going on now. So anybody who is interested, this is a private community. You could come in here and you can click the join button, and the moderator will then get you an entry into this community. Also on the right hand side, as you can see, there is a live chat stream where the community members can chat amongst themselves. On the left hand side, we have channels, which is about introduce and shine and general discussions. We will be soon adding more channels, which will be topical in nature. And the best thing is we also have a mobile app. That means it will be more seamless, where this community will be able to chat amongst themselves and have these discussions and forums on app as well. I will shut up now and let you women get started with your panel discussion for today.
Thank you, Ravi. This is fantastic, and we do encourage everyone in the audience to join the communities and also invite your industry friends. It really is a fascinating platform, and we're looking forward to seeing all of you there. Okay, so with no further ado, I would like to introduce our amazing panelists and to ask you, each of you, the question: could you share with us your journey and what inspired you to enter the PropTech? And I'll start with Kai. Can you please share with us what you're doing, what your background is, and why you're so keen into PropTech?
Thank you very much, Lisa. I'm very honored to be today here with all these great women, and I take a moment to congratulate all of us with this women force which we have, and we share it with the whole world now. So I'm grateful to be among of you. And my story in PropTech started in 2008 when I became a founder of the PropTech startup. At that time, that this word did not exist, and we even didn't know the word startup. So for us, it was kind of business, doing thing like developing the platform for the developers and investors. And we were like dreaming to sell it to MIPIM, because MIPIM at that time didn't have any kind of platform. So that was the idea, to put all the market players together. And we worked like 5 years in this platform, but unfortunately it didn't work out because of like being ahead of time. But at the same time, still I am in the real estate industry, and it put me into a real estate community, and I became a part of the great family of FIAPC, International Real Estate Federation. And in those like oceans of people around the world, I have found my passion. For now, I'm working in Contech, so it's not anymore PropTech, but Contech, construction technology. And I'm working in the company which produces the straw panels. And these are the building material for the future, which sinks CO2 and which makes our planet better place. And we can call it low tech. So we use the low technologies, and it can lower our progress, let's say, in the world, but at the same time, we can save a couple of years of life at this planet. So this is what I'm doing.
This is great. Thank you so much, Katerina. Julieta, would you like to share your journey?
Of course, and happy Women's Day to everyone. I love seeing all the comments. And of course, happy Women's Day to all the women on the panel. Lisa, thank you for hosting this. So my background is actually more in the construction world, and then ended up in PropTech as a venture capitalist. So I started off in I call it built environment technology, because I really think PropTech and construction tech kind of marry each other along the value chain. So my background's in structural engineering and architecture. Started off my career in the design space. So I was a Disney Imagineer, which means all the kind of engineering disciplines for all the new parks and resorts and cruise ships. And then moved over to Arup, which of course is based in London, but I was in the San Francisco office doing a lot of the design of tech campuses. So think the headquarters for Google, Meta, Apple. And about 10 years ago, I felt a very big frustration around how, with all of our construction projects, although they were, for tech campuses and had very big budgets and beautiful structures, we were using very to little technology. And so I started looking around, being based in Silicon Valley, what technologies existed in our space. And I looked specifically at Y Combinator, where out of, hundreds of technologies, there was only one startup that was focused on construction tech or prop tech. So I ended up joining them. They were an affordable housing developer, essentially, that was using technologies from the US to bring them down to emerging markets like Mexico, Haiti, El Salvador, Bolivia, to test them very rapidly. And that's when I fell in love with early stage investing. At the time, what we were doing is really finding these companies, bringing them down, doing pilots. And we realized that there was actually a very big lack of funding going into the space. Before about 2017, there was really not a lot of venture capital funds investing in prop tech and construction tech. So we ended up spinning into a fund, and that was kind of my leap from structural engineering and then R&D into venture capital. So today I'm at Overlay Capital, a managing partner, and I do both investing in early stage construction tech and prop tech, specifically in female founders. So for my first fund, I've only invested in female founders to date. And then I also have a consulting firm through Overlay, where we are consulting owner-operators, builders, and developers. So really the customers of PropTech solutions and context solutions on customer adoption. So we're working directly with the end user to consult them on what are your biggest pain points, where can we find technologies for you, and then help implementation. So through that, we're getting a very big lens into what are the founders out there, what are the market needs, and really helping adoption, which I believe is the biggest hurdle right now in our industry. So kind of on both sides of the curve, but very excited to be here. And then Lisa, after everyone goes around, I'd love to ask you about your background as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Julieta. Thank you so much. Angie, do you want to go next? You have a phenomenal journey, and we're so thrilled to hear your story.
Thank you, and thank you for having me, Lisa and Ravi. Happy Women's Day to everyone on the panel and everyone in the audience watching. The last 15 years, excuse me, I've been involved in a variety of businesses, from manufacturing to textiles to consumer goods. And over the course of that time, I was making angel investments, and it turned out, coincidentally, that most of my portfolio and investments were in PropTech. So when an opportunity to take a leadership role in Asia's first PropTech accelerator for a large real estate company sort of knocked on the door, I grabbed that opportunity with both hands. And it turned out that the the work was extremely purposeful. What sort of really fueled me was being able to roll up my sleeves, working with startups, understanding their choke points, root causes, trying to solve that. And a couple of things became clear to me over that period of time. One is PropTech is a little bit different from the other sort of biotech, consumer tech in terms of that hockey stick growth. What I find for startups is it's a flatter sort of growth curve, partly because the real estate industry has it takes its time to adopt technology, let's say. And so I think for me, being able to really work with founders in an industry that is tough, number one. Number two, over time understanding the contribution of the built worlds to to carbon emissions sort of created an impact angle for me, knowing that especially working with climate tech startups, um, you know doing something good for the world really sort of fueled me. And that's why when the opportunity to build and run around town's early stage accelerator came knocking, again, that's another opportunity that I grabbed with both hands. I think for me, in this role especially, is we heard Julieta talking a minute ago about sort of adoption, and what we can do via the accelerator around town is work with the startups very closely over 4 months, helping them, sort of make sure that there's very high problem solution fit, and thinking during those sort of early stages, what does the relationship look like scale, with the eventual goal that, let's scale the relationship, let's be able to get the startup more business with us as well as the industry. And that work sort of is very purposeful for me.
Fantastic, Angie. This is so incredible, and we'll have so many more questions to discuss in terms of how to empower more women in this industry. But before we do that, I'd love to ask Alina to share her story, and then we'll move on to Alan.
Hello, everyone. Happy International Women's Day to us and to all the women out there. I think this is a great idea to celebrate. I'm based in San Francisco, California. I'm originally from Romania. I'm from Eastern Europe, close to Caterina, there, who I've known actually for a while through FIAPSI. And my journey was a little different. I am a economist. My specialty was globalization, so I'm an unapologetic globalist. And I accidentally fell into the real estate profession after I moved from Romania into the United States. Initially, I worked in economic free zones and even for Maersk, when Maersk opened the office in Romania, journalism, and I fell into this wonderful profession. And I would like to say that I'd like to educate and connect technologists about the real estate industry and the other way around, because I feel that sometimes you do need to know the industry very well just to know what's missing and what kind of problems you solve. Sometimes some technologies don't solve necessarily a real estate problem. And also to make the real estate practitioners, professionals in different verticals understand how important is the technology and the adoption of technology, which is a process, as Angie was saying, slower in our industry. And I've been a very early adopter and trying to find solutions for different problems of the real estate chain. Either the transfer of real estate assets, make it more liquid because it's not a very liquid asset, or solving the financing problems. And I also dedicated a very big part of my life to volunteering for the profession of real estate internationally, and helping different countries, especially emerging ones, to find a more ethical, streamlined way to practice real estate. So that led me eventually to found the Silicon Valley PropTech Association. When I say Silicon Valley, it's not necessarily a location, but a state of mind. And that was specifically designed to connect, especially the global South, to Asia Pacific and Silicon Valley and United States. So in that capacity, I do connect startups, investors, real estate professionals, and bring economic development solutions in this space. And MIPIM is a great place for that.
This is great. I'm just loving to hear the stories how not only you individually progress in the careers, but you're also making an impact on the industry. It's wonderful. And Ellen, I know you're very passionate about also solving, the problems in the industry and trying to make the world a better place. Could you share with us your story and a little bit more about your company as well?
Absolutely. And first of all, so happy to share this special day with some brilliant women. So I'm CEO and co-founder of AI Bob. And my background is really from the construction industry. That's where I spent my last 13 years as a property developer, mostly on large scale developments. And also as an inspector, coming out and inspecting projects before they open. And it was mostly in that role that I think I haven't seen one single project that were completed without any errors. And it was the frustration seeing this happening over and over again that made me feel that something needs to be done. And in fact, it's actually a quarter of all invested money in construction that is spent on fixing errors. And in an industry where the global cost exceeds 12 trillion euros, it's a staggering amount of money that is spent on fixing errors. So it was during my maturity leave with my youngest son. That was also during the big AI hype that I started to read everything I could about AI and really thinking like, how can we use this technology in my sector and to solve like the biggest problems I've seen. So that was the start 1.5 years ago.
This is great, Ellen. Okay, so I'm again very much thrilled to have all of you at this panel, but also I want to sort of start with such a almost gruesome statistics that the percentage of the female founders is dropping, and our dear Julia all just shared with us that it's reduced from 2% to 1%, and I want to open it up to this panel to discuss how we can bring more people into PropTech and what are the major challenges for the female founders or startup entrepreneurs to get into the space.
I'd be happy to start, especially because a few years ago, Antonia, who's the director at Hilti Ventures, and myself started a group called Women in Construction Tech for this specific problem. And so when I went from the world of engineering to VC, I actually thought that there'd be more women because in the world of civil and structural engineering, I usually was the only woman in every room. And then I enter venture capital and it was actually worse. So her and I were some of the only women in venture capital for construction tech, prop tech in San Francisco at the time. And this is about 2020. And so we decided to start a community called Women in Construction Tech. That's our website if you want to look it up, really to connect founders, VCs, and then tech adopters, kind of that triage that you really need. But the main goal was to form deep relationships, not just connections. So when you go to a conference and you're giving out 1 million business cards, that's not what we want. We want to form deep relationships because in our world, it's very difficult to be the only woman in a room when you really need the financial support, for example, if you're a founder, or if you want to enter the VC space, it's a very hard career to enter. And so the whole purpose of the community was really to inspire and enable more women to enter this space. And so, for example, we would meet women all the time who are working at construction firms, kind of like Ellen was sharing before, seeing a problem and saying, how do I start a solution around this? How can I start a startup? And if you don't come from that world, like how would you just start a company from scratch? Being able to hear from other founders the truth about what it looks like to be a founder, hearing from VCs, what are the hurdles that you're going to go through for fundraising and getting those insights. And then on the VC front as well, like how do we inspire women to go from engineering to VC or go from construction firms to VC and hearing those paths and getting kind of that mentorship. That's probably our biggest goal. And what's been really amazing through Women in Contact is just how through a grassroots effort, through our nonprofit, it's grown tremendously. Now we have chapter leaders in every single region around the world. We're growing very rapidly because there's this massive need. And I think a lot of women just don't know there's all these different paths. Like I didn't know that path existed. In structural engineering, you go to your undergrad, then to your master's, and then you have a full certification program of professional licensing. And it's a very kind of linear trajectory. So if I didn't have women around me showing me that there's other opportunities, you could go into all these different paths, I probably wouldn't have jumped into that path. And so for us, it's really about inspiration. And just like Women in Contact, there's communities like this one, Women in PropTech, that we're on right now. And so I just really urge folks to see those communities out and then find that mentorship through friendships, and through mentorships also through other career paths.
That's great. And Juliet, maybe I'll just add to that. It's also a great opportunity to find the co-founders or talent once you're growing the business. Like, I skipped this, but I know you wanted me to ask the question about my background, but I'm actually in the process of building this flexible workspace operating platform where you can monetize the office space and allow more control for to generate upside for the landlords. And it's just fascinating how desperately you need those like-minded people to empower you to share their stories, but equally you need talent that is so diverse and not necessarily the same real estate people that you've grown up in the career, and that's where I think it's going to be a huge benefit to join those communities, and especially the PropTech buzz that Ravi just introduced in terms of the span of different audiences and channels. I think that's a fascinating platform to benefit from.
Well, Lisa, I think in terms of inspiration, it'd be great to hear your path, because I got to hear yours yesterday and I was amazed by it, just in terms of how you became a founder, right?
Absolutely. Thank you, Juliet. And I think that's it would resonate with a lot of women, I think, in the industry, because you start as in one way and then you pivot. So my start was in hospitality. I was doing the internship in the Marriott Hotel in the US in Virginia, and I just fell in love with hospitality and customer service. And I thought that it's fascinating kind of how the hotels are run, and I had this dream to either own my own hotel or manage a hotel. And then my journey developed throughout the commercial real estate. I worked on the development advisory projects in Cushman Wakefield, where I started my sort of professional job, and helped build the marinas, golf courses, resorts, theme parks, mixed-use developments, and worked with a number of investors and developers. And then moved on to work on in the management consulting capacity, servicing largest occupiers, kind of understanding where demand is coming from. And then after my MBA, I did investment banking, kind of part of my career. And it's just fascinating, to your point, Julieta, where as you went through Europe and sort of more traditional start, you learn so much about real estate, kind of you learn the ropes, but then you see where the major problems are and you're trying to solve them. So I pivoted from investment banking into flexible workspace after writing my dissertation on WeWork, and I'm also teaching now in Oxford Business School on flexible offices and how to monetize space and what sort of premiums it offers. And and I have been kind of developing my journey in this space from HANA to Industries to IWG, and now I'm seeing where the opportunities are from the technology perspective, and I think that's where real estate has to evolve and bring tech into traditional real estate operations and space management to enable the easier customer journey, the booking capability, the monetization of the space, and how this technology and real estate are sort of coming together. I think it's a new frontier, and absolutely AI will be fundamental in that. So I do think that being part of the PropTech community is really great, especially as you come from sort of more traditional background, because you're seeing how you can help solve the problems adopting technology in a more traditional real estate setting. So that's my journey, and thank you, Julieta, for allowing me to share it. And I just wanted to maybe just get us a little bit more sort of to discuss the frontier where we're seeing a lot of the again, women supporting each other, but are there any practical sort of practical elements we can kind of embed in our day-to-day practice, where we can invite more people or encourage more people to take those risks. Like Juliet was saying, that you took this leap of faith, but all of you have either started the businesses or kind of went into PropTech in quite senior leadership capacity. Like, what advice can you give to women who are in the traditional space, kind of career, and they want to take this leap of faith?
Yeah, I would like to build also a little bit on what Giulietta just said, because we recently secured our seed round, and I met a lot of investors, and I don't think it's a coincidence that we ended up with almost only female investors. So I think, having forums where you as a female founder also can meet female investors, and I think if we're going to change that 1%, we also need to have more female investors in this space, because I think somehow, and I noticed it myself, there is just something in the eyes that clicks when I talk to female investors. Like, they can a little bit more easily recognize me as a visionary, and so I think that's also a very important step to welcome more female investors in the space.
Thanks, Ellen. Alina, do you want to add to this? I know you've
I wanted to actually also talk about something else as well. It's just about, living in Silicon Valley, and Giulietta knows, it's all about how young you are. I founded my company at 18 and blah, blah, blah. So, I see more and more, and makes me happy, at least in our space. I see more women, not necessarily as young, very, very experienced, I would say, after having an experience in the industry and knowing the problems of the industry, exactly what I was talking about, getting into this space. It's a transition after you gain, some experience, because sometimes, just let's face it, people could be brilliant, they are extremely young, they get into this directly, they say, let's disrupt it, let's do that. But I think that a lot of women that I know and I see in this industry and getting into this space, they get into it not to disrupt, but to improve, to make to make the industry better, to find solutions. It's more of a nurturing point of view, if you wish. Even if it's solving the housing problem, or hospitality, or building houses better for someone, or finding financing solutions, for people who cannot afford to buy a home. I think that women think of that, a lot more. It's a nurturing point of view in getting into that, and looking at the problem and trying to find that solution that will address it. And I have to say that being in this space, and in the United States, by the way, on the sales side, at least residential side, more than 50% of the realtors are women in United States, which is great. In commercial, is not like that. The percentage is about 20% or so. You still see that is a space dominated by men, but I think it's changing. But at least in the residential area, and I see that in a lot of other countries, not just in the United States, women usually will dominate that space. And that makes them transition into the other areas of the real estate and prop tech, into investing, into being a VC, into being an innovator, just to solve that problem. And I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see women having a lot of experience, gathering a lot of more money from the previous career, and having the capacity to be bootstrapped for a while and getting into that space and testing it slowly but surely. So I think that's what I'm noticing, and that's actually my case as well.
That's great. Thank you. And Katerina, I'd like to address the next question to you. I know you're very passionate about the equality and also bringing more people into the prop tech. So how do you think companies can build culture that can attract and retain female talent?
Good question. Actually, when Alina was speaking, I was trying to think about the same question, and thinking about how to attract attention to technologies, because actually what technologies are doing, they are saving the time most of all because they are like making something quicker for us. And what I have experienced in my like previous project, which I have mentioned already, that when we started to provide some like platform and solution to the market to reduce the time which they spent for making deals, making communication, and so on, it didn't work. And why? Because people in this industry, they have their time, they use their time, and they use their time for different things. For example, to play golf with their friends, to go out with their clients, to make something around, but not spending time in like clicking deal by deal and doing things like a big manufacturer. So the main problem in this industry, in real estate industry, if we are talking about that, is that people do not want to change their habits, and they are happy with what they have. They don't want to go to like to do things to other tempo. You understand what I mean? But if we are talking about difference between women and men, women are more multifunctional, and they can do a lot of things at the same time. And sometimes for us, it's like very boring for wait that when man is doing one thing and then another thing and then another thing. So if to come back to what Alina said, that we have like 20% of women and 80% of men in this men's world of construction and real estate, then we can understand what is going on. So 20%, like Pareto rule, you know that 20% of efforts make 80% of results. So this is also the things which we can take into account. So if we have 20% of women in this area, so probably we can train women for making things like with the technologies and different way how to achieve their wishes, which they have like in multiple ways at the same time, and save their time. So this is what is like important for women to do, and what you have just said, Lisa, about the talent. So of course for us it's important to express ourselves, to do something, to create, because women they are creators. They are like born to create things for their family, for their kids, for their men, for their let's say for their and everything what they have around. They are creators, born creators. So if we are like combining everything into like one goal, then we have let's say the product which we can provide to women. We can train them, give them the opportunity to express themselves, give them the technology which they can use, and give them the inspiration to create another technology which they can do by themselves. And actually, when we are coming to the, let's say, to passion, because when I introduced myself, I said that I found my passion. So at the end of the day, we need to be inspired not just by other experience or other like trainings or something, but we need to find something within ourselves, what is very important for us, what we are going to like to take and keep it and go with that for not just for ourselves but for others as well. So then it will work much faster, easier, and will have a lot of impact around. So then men will be inspired by these women, which will like bring them something. They will ask them and say, why not you take this and use this for your better success, because for men it's important to be successful. So then we actually can be some kind of magicians to prepare something for that men's world. And actually with this we can come up to 50-50, at least, to balance in bringing more women into this process. And even in construction, because I see here we have most of us are from contact, from construction industry, and this is absolutely men's world. And
Exactly.
when we are coming to these building sites and meeting their men, they are sometimes are a little bit frustrated what the women are doing here. So this is actually the way when we are coming and bringing something very exciting, inspiring, which they cannot refuse to not to use it. So just my advice is to use your passion, probably to find people who will inspire you to find your passion, and actually to create things. It will bring you to the skies.
Thank you, Katerina. This is wonderful. And Angie, I'd love to address the next question to you in terms of, again, let's build on what Katerina said. So female founders who see the passion, found their passion, see the opportunity to improve, as Alina was saying, so they want to take the next step. Could you share some of your experience, how they can secure the funding? What are the more practical steps in terms of pulling it off the ground and making sure that there is enough support funding available for those women who are very, very clear about their passion about going into this PropTech journey?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Lisa, for the question. Let's separate the two pieces, right? One around sort of as a woman and on diversity, and then the other on, the business sort of piece of it on securing funding and things like that. From a gender diversity perspective, we went live with our first cohort of the accelerator last in September of 24. And 4 of the 6 startups that we took on were women led, or had women co-founders. And I was trying to be thoughtful about why that percentage felt good to hear, and I was trying to be thoughtful of why. And if I think through all the combinations of the startups and the founders and the teams, I think what stands out to me is gravitating towards leadership teams that believe in the power of diversity, in the power of the all genders, ethnicities coming together, and what that diversity and perspective leads to, right? And so I think for founders or for young women entrepreneurs or professionals who want to get into PropTech, I think for me it's really around surround yourself with people and teams that believe in the power of that diversity. On the business side, of course, what we work most sort of closely with startups is really around how does your solution really deliver ROI quickly? Especially on climate, you see a lot of very passionate founders who are driving net zero, but at the end of the day, it comes down to how is the customer getting ROI, and it needs to meet sort of double, triple bottom line objectives. And so for me, it comes down to, as a founder, if you're starting something, are you really solving a problem? How big is that problem? And what is the saving or additional revenue to the customer, right? I think that has to be very, very clear. And when you do that, you start to see your sales sort of accelerate. And we know, fundraising for me is an outcome of what you're able to do on product and sales. And so when you get that right, the money comes, the valuations come. So that's sort of the only feedback I have.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Angie. Julieta, I'd like to come back to you in terms of what skills do you think are essential for success in this industry, and how can, again, women in the industry, and not only women, I would say, overall the younger generation coming up, what sort of you think opportunities are there for them to learn or develop in the near future in order to be successful going forward?
I'd say that the first word that came up is curiosity. And the main reason, I think we were all chatting about this, but specifically Alina mentioned it before, which is you first need to really understand what the pain points are in our industry. The real estate and construction industries are the least innovative and digitized of every industry vertical. And so it's an industry, it's very hard to adopt technology. It's an industry that's very resistant to change. So you need to deep dive and understand pain points and the culture. If you want to be driving a technology forward as a founder, if you want to be investing in technology. So you need to take that brain space, that time to really dive in and go through the customer journey, whether that's being actually in the industry first as an architect, engineer, or contractor, or in other ways, but you need to have that deep curiosity first to be in the customer's shoes. And so I always say this, even when, people in college are asking, AI is going to transform everything I do. Like, should I still be studying real estate if maybe my job won't exist anymore in 5 years? And I think the answer that I always give is you need to go into it with curiosity, meaning you need to go do internships and understand the industry first, but go in with a fresh mind where you are, through your mentorships even, asking, what are your biggest pain points in your job? If it's your boss's boss, ask them that question. Walk me through what you wish you could wave with a magic wand and fix for you, with technology or without. And start gathering a list of those pain points and understanding the culture also of changing them. And so you can't, in a company where they're very hesitant to adopt new technology, you can't go and propose that they change the entire supply chain tomorrow. You need to go in and think of step changes and low-hanging fruit first. That's the cultural and change management piece. And then on a technology perspective, incorporating AI and how rapidly that's changing every single day, you need to have that curiosity every single day as well. And that kind of ability to change quickly, to adapt, to be nimble. And so those are kind of the people that I see as most successful in this kind of career path. If we're talking about PropTech and ConTech, it's that ability to say, the more I know I know nothing, because things are evolving so quickly and I'm going to be open to that change. I'm going to stay curious and always with that mindset of, I want to better our industry. How do we move a step forward together? And I guess the secondary thing is to be very collaborative. It's a super collaborative industry. It's very new. And so everyone's kind of nice in the sandbox. And it really does take kind of that triage I was mentioning before of investor, founder, and adopter to all be working in sync together.
That's great, Julieta. And I just want to build on what you said. And I know you are very passionate again about the adoption. So I'm just curious from your perspective, even with the again curiosity and solutions that might be amazing. Like a lot of the times, this fall through when the actual customers are not adopting it within or embedding in their processes. So I'm just again very curious how we can shift the industry so that the slow-moving audience that Katerina and Alina were talking about, how this real estate giants can be evolved, and what we can do as the very small group of female entrepreneurs, or as an industry or PropTech overall, to increase adoption and help evolve the industry overall.
Yes, I'll share kind of my perspective, what I've done to date, and then perspective also of what founders could do in this industry. So I call this problem the missing middle, which is that over the last 5 years, there's been a 90x increase of technology companies in our space. So the supply of technology has increased dramatically while the demand from the customers is still not even close. And so that gap is what I'm calling the missing middle. So when I was, just in the venture space and increasing the funding going into the supply, super exciting time, but I was seeing kind of this gap get larger and larger. And so that's why I started the consultancy to actually tackle the demand side. So I'm going straight to the owner operator. They're at the very top of the food chain and saying, let's walk through your entire construction value chain. Where are your biggest hot zones for inefficiencies? And let's go market map the best technologies. So for example, AI Bob, amazing technology right now, especially in the Miami region where every single building is going under, renovations, new assessments because of the recent collapse a few years ago. So we'll look at, the 50 technologies out there that exist and then pilot them and implement them. And that's been amazing because we're able to work directly we're outreaching to startups and work directly with those founders to bring them in and matching a solution to a problem. So I always say that you can't, try to match your hammer to your nail. You have to first look at all your nails and then figure out what your tool is. That's how I'm approaching it. In terms of founders or women in the industry, I would say that for founders, the most important phase of your entire company is your customer discovery phase. And so I call that doing like a listening tour, which is understand and interview your potential customers and do that continuously. Even if you're 5 years out, constantly understand what your customers need, what their biggest pain points are, and try to address them. And women in the industry, I think there's such exciting time right now to be an intrapreneur. So being an entrepreneur within your company, meaning take on that role of being the innovation person in your office or in your team or in your region, by saying, I'm hearing all these pain points from all these different teams or in my own team. Let me go find technologies and let me pilot them. The hardest portion is really getting, support from the top down, like that resource support of funding. But then also from the bottom up is, how do you change hearts and minds of people at your level? The only way to do that is through ROI. Our industry is a show me industry. You have to prove it through examples. If you don't have an example proving that ROI, no one's going to listen to you. So that could be kind of your role. You could be kind of that champion internally. And then you're also connecting with other founders. And there was a comment in here about, like why would men not invest in female founders? Same thing. Why would men in industries not bring in female founders to pilot? It's all about our networks and community. At the end of the day, as a female, I just know more female founders, of course, because of the community I've launched, because of my network. So if you are a woman in your industry as an entrepreneur, you're more likely to have a network of other female founders that you could bring in. So it's all kind of that ripple effect. Why we need more of these investors and more of these adopters that are also women to bring in more female founders.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. That's so comprehensive. And Alan, I want to ask from your perspective, because you are really in the very slow moving and old school subsector of the industry. Like, how can you maybe illustrate some of the things that Julieta was saying in terms of how are you sort of adopting your technology or helping the large construction companies to embed this in their processes, which I'm sure are very well established, and you are really challenging the status quo.
Yeah, and I think like the main thing as a founder is to really, really be in love with the problem and maybe not the solution, to really, really love the problem you're working on. And we've been thinking, I mean, also me being on the other side, as working as a property developer, I was really cautious bringing on in startups in my projects, because to be frank, like the it's a startup is not like most of the time not likely to even survive a project of 5 years. So it's all about mitigating risk when you work within construction. And so we've been thinking a lot about that when it comes to adoption, and to not bring in any more risk for the project, and also because there are so long sales cycles within construction. So how can we enter into ongoing projects without have to wait until a new one starts? And how can we enter so we don't change the process that they are working within? So how can we maybe just add more data in their ongoing project management tools that they're already working with? So that's something I think is very key when it comes to construction, because there is a slower, it takes longer, and it's harder to iterate, because if you have to wait for a new construction to start.
Maybe Katerina, you also in this sort of deep contact environment. I'm also curious in terms of some of the risks that the industry players are feeling or perceiving when you come in with your solution, and then there's this whole supply chain that might get disrupted, and I'm wondering how you are helping sort of the industry adopt your solution, your product, without feeling threatened and without feeling that they need to protect the status quo.
Good question. And when Alina spoke, and she said that women are more like providing a vitamin type of solution, not the disruptive. But with our solution, actually, when I came to this company to work with, they were working on the Lithuanian market for more than 10 years already, and had a lot of clients and built a lot of buildings, but it's not enough for this solution to be just in one country. So in this case, they are like, they need to go out of their country. It's like when you are going out from the garage. In case of the PropTech solution, when you have a technology and you like having like a small amount of clients. In this case, it's the same, but like in a bigger scale, let's say the same problem. So when you are going with some kind of a construction technology out of the country to another country, and every country has their own, let's say, field they have their own rules of playing, and they have their own standards of doing things, and they can have different conditions. For example, I live in Kiev in Ukraine, and we have here the war, and we need to rebuild the buildings every day, not waiting until the war will be ended. So the conditions are completely different. The risks are completely different. And when you have a good product which actually works, you have tried it and tested on some kind of market, but still you need to scale it to different markets. So then actually you need to be creative with the marketing let's say approaches, and have the social impact strategy, because in case when you are just coming to change like everything, then of course you will be considered as a virus for this body, let's say, and you will not be accepted. But when you are coming with something good, when you are coming to help and to create the added value to what is going on in concrete place, in concrete territory, then actually you can provide this added value. And in our case, we have initiated this movement of rebuilding Ukrainian cities green in Ukraine, and we decided that we are going to donate the material for those projects which are going to consider to be rebuilt not with like conventional methods, but with the better methods, with the ecological methods, with the recycling materials, with the circular materials. So then we are helpful and we want to help. But at the same time, what we get the pilot, what Julieta said. So like we are moving forward from one place to another. We are working with all the stakeholders. We're working with the municipality. We're working with the like developers around, the architects. Everyone knows what is going on, and they do not like consider us as something what is going to disrupt this market. They are considering us like someone who came to help and to do things like another way. But at the same time, what I want to add one more thing, because this technology allows to build by itself. So it is load-bearing panel, and you can build a building like in one day using just the straw panels. But when you consider that there are a lot of different construction methods on the market, and there are, for example, the metal construction, which are like very fast approaching and very fast building. So then we can become like an added value to this building when they build the construction frame, and we become just an insulation. So then means like collaboration, and we bring more greenery into existing construction method. So then you are not disrupting, you become a kind of vitamin for existing construction market. So I think that this is the case for everyone at our bio-based construction industry, because it's like a separate market. There are a lot of different solutions at that market. But at the same time, we should be very friendly with those who are building. It's more than 1 trillion dollars per year of the whole industry. And for example, our market is only 800 million. So in comparison, it's like a drop in the ocean. So it means that if we consider ourselves like kind of thing which is like a very, very big, and it's going to disrupt everything, it does not. But if we consider ourselves as a vitamin which can be helpful at all the types and all the kinds of the construction methods, then we can grow together with those big companies. So that's what I think should be considered by each who is like trying to put some value into the existing rule of law, let's say, what is going on somewhere.
That's a great example, and thank you, Katerina. I really think that this enhancement of the existing process, I think that's the way to go. But I know, mindful of time, we have around 5 minutes left, and I want to go around and ask each of you to share your vision. What are the greatest opportunities for women in the prop tech in the next 5 years, and maybe just give some of the advice again, maybe what female entrepreneurs or founders or entrepreneurs who aspire, or female entrepreneurs who aspire to enter the space, what they should do and consider. So Angie, can I start with you, and what would be your advice?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a great time to be in PropTech. I think post-COVID trends around how space is consumed, and you know this better than anyone, where it's become space as a service as opposed to a real kind of hard asset. Whether it's where interest rates are, whether it's a shortage of workforce, we can see that in Europe. All of these trends make it very important, and of course climate. These trends make it super important to be able to find innovative ways to combat and respond to these trends as quickly as possible. And so I think technology and innovation is the way to go. I think PropTech is at the cusp in terms of, I believe we're going to see significantly more adoption. And so for anyone looking for careers or, to be an entrepreneur, I think it's a great time to be here. I think Julieta explained it so well. Be curious, listen to what the pain points are, and it's a fun ride.
Thank you, Angie. Alina.
Yes, I think that there are plenty of opportunities in the next 5 years, and the problems are not solved. We still have a shortage of housing. We need to find much more efficient financially and ecologically way to build homes around the world, and we need data, because we are not coming, into this 4.0 digital revolution or evolution from different places. We come from very different places. They are places and countries that they are not they're behind, and others are more advanced, and it's a huge gap still. I believe that there is a lot of opportunity in helping building real infrastructure with digital infrastructure. So to start the other way around, I believe there is need for data. Data is very important. If you don't have that, there are a lot of places in the world who don't have any structured data in real estate. So you don't know how to plan, to predict. And I would say, be curious wherever you are. Either you are working into a company and you try to innovate inside, assess problems, do your research is very important, to know what you want to solve. And yes, I do believe that we need to support each other as women in different aspects and verticals of this industry, and to continue to do this together.
Thank you, Alina. That's great. Ellen.
Yeah, I mean, the industry is lacking behind technology. I mean, usually we say maybe 10 or maybe even 15 years behind many other sectors. That there are some low-hanging fruits and some really great things that could still be discovered. And also, I mean, it's a fact that the construction and PropTech sector is responsible for 40% of the CO2 emission. So we need some great thinkers to help us solve this, because we need to think more about that.
Great, thanks. Julieta.
I love, Ellen, that you just mentioned the responsibility of our industry. We're responsible for almost half of carbon emissions globally as the built world. So it's a very difficult problem. And I think it's actually where women have the best chance of stepping in. Forbes released an article recently showing that businesses that are run by women are typically more successful by 35%, especially in times of hardship. And so when there's a lot of political challenges, when there's world problems like the pandemic, and then of course, climate change, that's where female leaders are doing better by 35%. And so given all of that, I think it's the most exciting time to come into the industry. because we are also the most untapped for innovation, and there's been this massive growth of funding coming into the space, and we're in the very early innings of it, it's a massive financial opportunity as well. So women that are coming in as founders, as VCs, it's an opportunity also to make a generational change. And so I think there's so much need coupled by so much opportunity that for me, it's more just, it's really the most exciting time for women that are in university or early in their career to be jumping into the space. And then people that have been in their career for a long time and seeing big gaps also jump in and solve these issues that have been your own hurdles for a long time. They probably have a lot of passion for. But probably the biggest advice in terms of how to jump in, again, like we were mentioning before, is joining these communities. Like, for example, we did today, every single month, there's going to be a similar talk with 6 female leaders. We're open to recommendations from more speakers. And so opportunities like this, where you get to hear people's stories and then reach out to them after and get guidance on how to enter, I think is a really good first step.
Fantastic. And Katerina, do you want to close us up with
I would like to say about 5 years. First of all, I invite everyone to Ukraine, because the next 5 years, at least 5 years, maybe 10 years more, this is the plenty of things to do to test all your solutions, to bring your technology and to find the stakeholders who are going to take it and try it, how it will work. Also, I invite those who are working with AI, especially I know Elin is working with the AI solution. So the next 5 years, I think that this is like the growth of AI in all the industries and in our industry as well. So I think that if there are some watchers who are watching this now, women and men, you are welcome to come, for example, to our company, to Modulina, because we, as a low-tech company, are also looking at some kind of collaboration, and finding the implementation of AI technologies in our business, because it will help to reduce the time, reduce the waste, reduce the CO2. So it will even reduce, in our case, everything what we can reduce. So this is what is going to be. And next 5 years also, the robotization in the construction industry, especially in those fields like ours, when we have some kind of machinery which is working now in some way. But if we will bring more intelligence and technology into robotics there, then it will work much faster, and it will allow us to build with the lower cost for those who are willing to bring more ecology into their projects, and especially in those countries which are following the Green Deal and ESGs, who is imposing this into their rules of the companies. So this is what is going to be the next 5 years, and I invite everyone to cooperate with the new materials, not only our straw panels, but all the construction new materials which are reducing CO2.
Thank you so much. This has been incredible, absolutely phenomenal. And thanks to our amazing panelists for so generously sharing your insights, your time, especially on Saturday afternoon, this International Women's Day. So thank you very much. And to close us up, I would like to share that each of us will invite another amazing female leader in the PropTech industry for the next panel. So just watch the space. Please do join the communities on PropTech Buzz, and look forward to seeing you all at our next event. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Lisa, our moderator today.
Thank you, Alina.
You did a wonderful job.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure. Thank you. And enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Lisa.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.